There are about a million big decisions that we can get lost in, stuck in, frustrated by. But you know what? Sometimes it's the little tiny decisions that make all the difference. Hey, stay tuned to the Father Trucker. Hey, welcome to the Father Trucker. Let me tell you where I'm coming from with this idea this week. I am in Ottawa, Canada, where I'm based out of, and I was heading into La Belle Province into Quebec this morning, and we are like right in that bubble where any morning you get up, you might need a toque, you might need sunblock, you might need a windbreaker, you might need a raincoat, you might need so many different options, right? Because the weather is just so transient. Maybe is the best way to say it. It comes and it goes, and it comes and it goes. And so this morning I got up and I'm heading into Montreal, and it's around 10 degrees Celsius, which I think translates to somewhere around maybe 40, 42, or something like that Fahrenheit for my American friends. But as I'm rolling out of the yard into Quebec, I have turned off my hot water lines to the cab just because it makes life so much easier on the air conditioner. And so as I'm heading into Montreal, it is just on that bubble where, you know what, it's not quite warm enough to not need the heater to come on, but it's right there, and I'm thinking to myself, if I open the valves again, I'm gonna probably need to close them again this afternoon when I'm driving again. And so I'm thinking, do I really want to do it? But here's the point. Stick with me on this one, okay, brother trucker and sister trucker right there. The reality was that the decision was connected to all of about a minute of work, right? So as you saw in the intro to the video, literally it took two hood latches, tilting up Big John's hood, and turning a couple of taps, and closing the hood and latching it back on. And so all morning long, having made that small decision to, in fact, stop, which I was stopping anyway for a coffee, get out, open the taps, close the hood, and keep on driving, meant that the next hours were way more comfortable for me in Big John the Western Star. Now I could have said, well, you know what, I just don't want to do it, and I'm just gonna leave it, and you know what, I could have done that, and I would have survived. They wouldn't have found, me in a fetal position on the side of the highway somewhere, just not able to move. It wasn't going to be that cold, but that little decision, boy, it changed everything. And so the drive into Montreal was very pleasant. And truth be told, it's been wet and kind of cold all day long. And so I left them open, and now I've got heat, and I'm kind of on that bubble where it's not getting too hot in here. So here's my point with this. If you're following me on this little wayward wandering chat, life is like that, you know like there are huge decisions, like, should I get a new truck or keep running Big John? Well, that's an easy decision. Should I make a major purchase? Should I make a major decision about career stuff? Should I make major moves as far as anything, as a Christian? Should I change churches? Should I this? Should I that? Whatever. Maybe you are a whole lot younger than I am, and so you're thinking about starting a family, and you're like, should we do that now? Should we wait? And maybe you're making decisions about some education too. That's possible. Or maybe you're just thinking truck stuff and that. So, but here's my point. There are so many big decisions that have huge consequences, that are really, really significant. And I would say the most significant one is choosing to follow Jesus. That's huge. Secondly, choosing to surrender to Jesus, which I wish those were just tied together automatically, but they're not. That's a huge decision. But hear me on this. We can get lost in the weeds of those big decisions, and we can stay stuck for a very long time. And we can just be spinning our wheels trying to figure out which way we should go, what we should do. And those are all valid. Please don't hear me. I'm not minimizing the importance or the weight or the significance of those kind of decisions. But hear this: while we are figuring out the big decisions, maybe there's some small ones we can make. And maybe those little ones will actually make a whole lot of difference in the day to day, the way our life is lived and the way that we walk and serve the Lord and live in relationship and all that stuff. So did you catch that? I hope you're following me on that. So look at those big decisions, and yeah, you got to make them, and you got to process them, and I hope you're praying them through, and I hope you're in the scriptures wrestling with those things. And I'm just thinking about some of those big decisions that come up in scripture. They're all over the place. The rich young ruler comes to mind. He wants to follow Jesus. He doesn't know what's in the way. He has a conversation, and Jesus says, "Oh, there's this thing. You need to sell everything you have and come and follow me." That's a big deal decision. There are other points in scripture where, Jesus calls people to make just a 180 turn in life, and go in a completely different direction, and that's a big deal. And you think about Abraham leaving Ur of the Chaldees, heading into the promised land. You think about Moses being called back into to Egypt to deliver the people of God, and so on and so on and so on. And those are big decisions. But you know what? There's also just a million little decisions where we can choose to say yes to Jesus. And I think about, the disciples gathered on a hill with about 5,000 people to hear the teaching that we call the Sermon on the Mount. And you know what? They make a decision about a little boy's lunch, and it's literally this little tiny decision that they have to make, and yet Jesus takes it and does something incredible with it. They made the decision to go to a wedding. At the wedding feast at Cana, they decided to go with Jesus to a wedding, and let's just say, probably a lot of you listening are brother truckers, and you might be thinking, gee, I'm not a big fan of going to weddings, especially people I don't know real well. And so that may have seemed like a big decision, but it really wasn't. It was a small decision. Jesus said, let's go to a wedding. And so they went together, but then they saw something amazing take place. And so please hear this as I wrap up, as I try and land this plane, or park this truck is probably a better way to try and capture the idea. But please catch this: as you are wrestling with the big decisions, and I hope you're wrestling with big decisions that the Lord is placing upon your heart, and I hope you're wrestling with them, and I hope ultimately you say yes to the things that He's asking you to say yes to, and the big decisions where you need to say no to something that isn't of God. I hope you're saying no to those in a big way as well. But while you're wrestling with those big things, pay attention to the little decisions. And so I got one just happen up the road. Literally, I was coming to deliver here to this one location, and there's a bridge that's oftentimes closed. I think I mentioned it in the last video. And you know what? I got detoured. I went the way that I always go, and I think I missed a couple little signs on the way. Next thing you know, one of Quebec's finest is standing in front of me like this, saying, "You can't go this way." And we had a conversation. It was very amicable. But maybe stepping in front of a truck that's, it's raining, and standing there like this is probably not a good idea. But he did it, and I got stopped in time. But here's the deal: it was a little tiny decision to obey a sign that says go this way. And if I had said no to that decision, I was going to enter into a whole world of hurt. Instead, it was just a little decision: turn left where it says turn left. And maybe that's your story right now. And if it is, you know what? You can put a little message in the comments below. You can send me an email at powerservechaplain@gmail.com. You can reach out any way that you would. And if you're doing that, if you're obeying God in the small things right now and you want to share that, I'd love to hear it. But please catch this with me. If we would be fully devoted, passionate, useful, and equipped followers of Jesus who happen to be truckers, who happen to be missionary truckers, we are going to have to get used to saying yes to God in the small things and say it quick, and say yes in the big things as they come along. But please listen and pay attention to those little decisions that happen along your way, because getting those right, I'll tell you what, changes everything. Hey, listen, I got to go because I'm about to get a free dock to pull into. God bless. We'll talk soon. Please visit us at our website, which is thefathertrucker.ca. So thefathertrucker.ca, or again, please send us an email that I mentioned already before. We'll talk soon. Stay safe, obey the Lord, and follow the detours He puts in your path. Okay, we'll talk again. God bless.